All right, good evening. If you could all move in, we will get started here in a little bit. Mike is stealing the show with that is authentic male garb over there. All right, so welcome. It's good to have you all here. As most of you know, a few of us took a trip to southern India to visit Velu with Go Ye Missions, and wanted to start off just showing you a little bit. So this is India, and we flew into Trivandrum right down here on the southern tip, and we were in these two states right down here, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Those from here, we were almost up to Bangalore in there, but that is probably close to 500 miles from here to there. So we were on the road a lot, but we kind of circled around, did a loop around through here. So the people that went was myself and Josh and Livy and Dwayne and Jerry, Dwayne Google, Jerry and Leanne Rediger, and Mike and Ruth Weddle. So we're all just going to take turns and share a little highlight of each different part. Go Ye Missions has a lot of different parts to it. So we're just going to take our turns and each take a little section. Before that, we had Velu record a message for all of us. So we'll start with that.
Good evening, everybody. This is Velu, Go Ye Mission from India. It's a great pleasure and honor to present myself before you. Today, some of our friends from Kalona going to share the ministry activities of Go Ye Mission in India. Jesus said, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." There is the same with Go Ye Mission. We wanted to go everywhere and preach the gospel. God saved us through His love. After accepting Christ, we had the burning desire to preach the gospel. My brother and myself, we went to every villages. We preached on the street. We went and distributed gospel tracts at the bus station and schools and marketplaces. And we saw many people coming to the Lord, and people were healed, people were blessed, and they wanted to come and hear the gospel again. So we started the churches. We had many churches started everywhere. And we thought of starting a Bible college to train people so that they can go and preach the gospel. The God blessed us, and we started churches everywhere. We started orphanages. We printed hundreds of tracts and books to distribute it freely. And we had an open air meetings everywhere. We had a big crusades, and we baptized many people, and we have so many pastors that are going around and preach the gospel every day. Oh, we need the gospel to be preached everywhere. India has the most populated country in the world, and we need the gospel to be taken everywhere. We thank God for the people that help this ministry. A lot of our friends in Kalona, they support this ministry and they pray for this. This is one of the reasons we are having this presentation, so that we can tell about what we are doing in India and what India needs, and what is your responsibility that we can preach the gospel to our people. Oh, The Lord is opening the door. The Lord is opening the hearts of people. We need people to pray. We need people to support this ministry so that we can bring all the people under the feet of Jesus. To glory to God. Thank God for all that are present here. May the Lord bless you. I request you, I encourage you to pray and support this ministry. Tell other people about this ministry so that we all can join together and bring a great revival in India. God bless you.
So you met Velu. How many have met him in person before? All right, pretty much all of us. How many know his story as to how he came to Christ? Pretty much all of you. There's a few that didn't raise your hand. Just a quick version. When he was a young boy, he and his brother lost their dad. Their dad was murdered by some uncles over a land dispute. They were a couple years apart, Elon and Velu. They were somewhere around the age of 13. And in their desperation, they cried out to their gods, and nothing happened. And they found a tract that told them about Jesus. And they had such peace in their life. And through that verse that he said, "Go ye into all the world," has become his goal for his life. And then quite a few years after that, he makes a wrong phone call to a friend in Dubai that ends up coming to Kalona. And somebody on the other end answers the phone, and they have this, I heard it enough times that I have got a pretty good imagination as to how the conversation went. And the one guy on one end says, "Well, who are you?" And, "Well, who are you?" And, "I don't believe you. Come and see." Willis Miller was on this end, and he answered the phone. And he ended up going to India just to prove this fact. Plus, he was buying some pumps for Water of Life. But this is what Willis said when he came back. What Velu says, believe him. It's true. He believed, after he saw it, he believed everything that was going on in India. There's a group of us that varies in size that we meet every 6 weeks here in the Kalona area. And our purpose is to encourage each other to continue supporting Go Ye Mission. We spend some time in prayer. One of the important parts of our meeting is our conversation with Velu. We usually, how do we do it, Jerry? We FaceTime somehow, a video call of some kind, and we actually get to talk to him half hour, 45 minutes for a night. And so a couple things, if you would like, if you do not get the newsletter, there's a little slip there's one, there's some in the back. All we need is your email, and we will get that to Velu. We also printed up some brochures, and there's also some newsletters that from the last 3 newsletters that we received, if you would like to look at them. So one of the most intriguing things to me about Velu is how adaptable he is. When we first met him, he was involved in, he said, orphanages. He most commonly referred to them as children's home because he wanted them to be treated as children. And through different, lot of government intervention, they pretty well got run out of that. But that doesn't stop them from ministering to children. We'll hear more of that tonight as how they're currently doing that. But that's just one example of how he is has a vision to go forward. So I was there 20 years ago, pretty much 20 years to the date from when we went this time. And the picture on the right, that'd be the left. See, that's titled Prince. That's actually his name. His name is Prince. And he was a young pastor. That's his wife beside him and their two little children, Esther and Velu on there. And then Prince's mother is the other lady up there, right there. And they had just recently, before that time, started a church somewhere in a more rural area but close to Niagara Coil. And this picture I took when we visited their house. That's their house. That's where they held church at their church meetings and stuff at that time. So the other picture, that old man there talking to that young guy in the blue shirt, that's Prince again. And I got to meet him a little bit this time. And so just evidence that the church is still growing. I don't know how big his congregation is, but it doesn't fit in his house. They had to build another building. And so they've moved on, they've increased, and that's just a little example of the increase that's happening in southern India because of Go Ye Mission. All right, Liv, this is our youngest member. She had a lot of fun.
In India, we visited 3 after-school programs. The first one, so we stayed there, and some girls showed us a dance that they did, and then Velu gave them a meal. That one was a bigger village, so they could talk English. The second one that we stayed in, this one was a little bit smaller, so I couldn't really understand what they were saying, and they couldn't understand me, but that's fine. And they did kind of the same thing. Some people showed us a dance, and then we had a meal, and oh, around Christmas, they gave them some clothes. And after school, they would help them with their homework and teach them dances. Oh, Bible verses, memory verses, and Bible songs.
All right. Man, dance. Well done, Liv. Well done. It's gracious for them to allow Liv and I to come along. It was actually my wife's Jill, her idea for Liv to go along, and it was great for her. It was really good. I did fail a couple times. Fortunately, Leon was there. One bus ride, we drove a lot, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. My daughter was freezing, and I'm trying to like take off like my sweatshirt, anything I can to warm her up. And Leon's like, I got a blanket for you, Liv. Like, I'll take care of you. Your dad can't, I will. Then we were traveling along, and Liv was like, I'm hungry. And I'm like, well, just wait for a meal. And Leon's like, I got snacks, Liv. I'll take care of you, even though your dad can't. So thank you, Leon. I think that was a thank you. I'm not sure. So they did have after-school programs. I was very impressed with it. They keep them smaller. They want them under 25 to be undetected. So they all run them a little bit different. The one that we went to first, 18, that was like a Monday to Saturday, and it would be immediately after school until 7 o'clock. They would always feed them, but they would always help them with their homework. Academics are very high in India, so they would help them with their homework, but they would also teach them Bible verses and Bible songs, teach them Bible just principles. One of the children ministries that we went to was at Mark Peter, and what they did, it was a little bit different. Mark Peter actually was at the seminary. I think Leon's going to mention Mark Peter. He just graduated. He took it through Zoom. He had been in the village that they had been at for a year. He fasted, and felt like God was leading him to this village. Both him and his wife were from a larger city, decided to go to a smaller village. This particular village, one of the reasons why they chose it, they didn't know anybody there. In the surrounding area, there were 40 Hindu temples and no churches. And so one of the things that he decided to do, they had been there for a year, and they had a room full of kids. It was unbelievable. They had a house that was, in essence, 2 rooms and like an outside shelter. And it was such an honor for them to host all of us. Now, I don't know about you. If my house is messy, a little bit dirty, I'm embarrassed to host people, right? They were thrilled. I mean, their hospitality was unbelievable. Very, very convicting to me. They loved people. They loved to love people, and they wanted to be hospitable. They had snacks for us. They had food for us. They had to host. The vast majority of us stayed in their bedroom, right? Because that's where we had to go. They didn't have anywhere else. We had to go in the bed. Loved hosting us, right? That was also their kitchen, right? Yeah, multi-room, yeah. It was everything. Absolutely incredible. Chose this city because there's 40 Hindus around it, no churches. So they said, we want to plant a church, but there's no Christians. And so what they did, they said, you know what? We're going to have a Sunday morning Sunday school, and we are going to do Bible stories, Bible songs, Bible verses. We're going to teach lessons. It's going to be directed towards kids. And they have had a slew of kids interested in this. They come to it. They were so thrilled to sing the songs for us, to recite the Bible verses for us. So much energy. And then what they would do is they would invite the parents in on Sunday night, not as a service, but more of a evangelical, relational, equity building, community building. Bring them in and really introduce Jesus. What Mark Peter was talking about, I read through John, and John does the same thing for us. Like, he presents Jesus, and he just simply calls us to believe. So he speaks about John the Baptist. He says, I say these things as the Son of Man so that you might, I testify that you might believe. John says, I write these things that you might believe. He records the story of Jesus and Nicodemus, who says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, whoever believes, right? Present the portrait of Jesus, call them to believe. And that's what he did on his Sunday nights. Present Jesus, call them to believe. I loved what Mark Peter was doing, and just convicting to me on so many levels. Really, really appreciated what was going on. Oh, I got the next one too. This is Johnny, who is amazing. So this is Velu's son. Johnny lives in Malaysia. He is a pediatrician. He's a doctor, and Johnny took care of us. Johnny was amazing. I really appreciate Johnny, his faith, his hospitality, his graciousness. Everything about Johnny I absolutely loved. Really, really appreciated him. One of the most fun conversations that I personally had, I think we had with Johnny, was Johnny's vision for how he could be part of Go Ye Missions in the future. Him and several friends have had discussions and are very interested in creating what would, in essence, be a medical tent. And they would come down and set up a medical tent for a period of time, like maybe a month, and allow people who don't have the income to utilize the medical advances because of their income level to go to this tent and receive free medical care. And it would give Johnny the opportunity not only to love people by taking care of really real needs, but then give him the opportunity and the equity to speak about Jesus and present the gospel. I thought it was brilliant, and the fact that him and his friends were excited about it, wanting to do it, and that he would have a vision for it, it was so exciting. It is something that is well thought out. He had details in mind and how it would play out and how he would be a part of it, how his friends would be part of it, how they could make it work, and wants to make it a reality here in the coming years. So pray for Johnny and his future use.
Maybe I bailed Josh out, but he bailed me out. He could speak a lot better than me. I made Velu nervous whenever I got up there. That's a true story. So, um, with all the churches that have been planted, Velu says there's about 300 churches as part of Go Ye Missions now, scattered all through India, and so every month, they have it divided into different regions, and so it's set up like the high church. So you would have like the archbishop, and then bishops, and then bishops under that, and all the way down is kind of the structure of the church. And so every month they have pastors' conferences for different regions. And so we were able to be at 2 different pastors' conferences. And so they meet monthly there, and then once a year they try to get together as a large group. So we were able to take part in 2 pastors' conferences. This is a picture of the one. And then also, in order to train the pastors, they've started a seminary, like a Bible school type thing. A lot of it, because of logistics, is done through Zoom. Some of the things, I think this is something that we can pray about, is it seems like there's a lack of good study material. And so I think that's something that in the future might be a help to them in getting more curriculum or more things for them to study. But they had a graduation. We took part in that. There was about, I think, roughly 30 graduates at that. And there's a dumb fly that is pestering anybody who's standing up here. So there was about 30 graduates, but Mark Peter, that Josh just talked about, was one of the graduates. This was also a graduation/ordination. And so there were 4 pastors ordained at this graduation that we took part in, and Mark Peter was one of the ones that was ordained. So that was the pastors' conferences and the graduations were the highlights for me. That was the best part. We walked into the first pastors' conference, and they're all worshiping, and their music is top notch, kind of because they have this guy right here, and this guy, I'm going to kill that fly one of these days. Anyhow, he's nasty. So this is VJ, and VJ is Velu's nephew, and he is a music composer, so he writes his own music, as well as in the southern states of India, he is known as a music composer. And so if someone writes a song, if there's a pastor that writes a song, they will send it to him to get him to compose it put it together for them. And so we walked in, and there's just, I don't know, there's something about singing that helps everybody connect. And it was incredible to be there, and I couldn't understand what they were singing, but to be in a room full of pastors and their music, I don't know, you didn't have to understand to be able to connect with them. It was really cool. But there was one song that was played that really stood out to me. I walked in, but I had to be on stage, and so I didn't want to be this weird person taking videos, so I just hit the video on my phone and laid it down, and I got the music from the song, and then later I looked it up. So VJ has a YouTube channel, and he has a couple songs in English. And so I found the English version of the song that was playing at the pastors' conference. The name of the song in English is Den. And so there's 2 songs. He released a song sometime earlier this year, like January or February, and the name of that song is Shelter. And Den is an older song, but then he's released a new one here in May, and he's releasing another one in June. So at the end of the service tonight, when I dismiss you, we're just going to play the music videos, and you can stay and watch them if you want. You can leave however you want to. The first song is Shelter. That's his newest English one. And then the second song in that lineup is Den. And then the third song is the Tamil version of Den. I don't know. It's been intriguing to follow him and see what he's doing. He sent me the soundtrack for Shelter, and I need to get it to Charlie because he wants us to sing Shelter here sometime, and I think it'd be really cool. But meeting VJ and that part of it was, yeah, that was really cool, along with all the pastors' conferences. That was good. So I think that is the end of mine, and so Jerry and Leanne.
Well, thanks for being here, everyone. It's good to see you all. It was an amazing, incredible experience. I have to admit, I was a little hesitant, but Jerry said, Leanne, we're going to go. We have to go. So, I'd say we should all go if we have the opportunity because it was amazing. As you can tell from the previous slides, this is a very robust and energetic and prolific ministry. And so Velu and VJ are always looking for creative ways to help support and just encourage the people around them. So Velu, at one of our Go Ye Mission meetings that Dwayne talked about, he said there's many women who don't have jobs. And so he proposed that that he would like to buy 5 sewing machines, an embroidery machine, and 5 computers. And this would cost about $4,800. And this would include instructors. So at our meeting, we talked about it and we agreed this would be a good idea. So there were many contributors and donors who said, we want to be a part of this. So we were able to wire the money to Velu. So these are the sewing machines. So this is when we were over there, we were able to see them. And this is on the 2nd floor of the building that they rent, and then they have church on the 3rd floor. But you can, maybe you can't see, but these are treadle sewing machines. So, and then the computers. 2 of the instructors they host one of the after-school programs in Niagara, and they were amazing women. So, let's see, I think that's all I have. But, so yeah, I think this will be a good way to continue to support the people of this area.
So we seed the map of India to give just a little bit of a update on the geography of it. India is 1/3 the size of the United States with 4 times the population. So a third the size. So they're worth 350 million. They're 1.5 billion. And in that setting, you can imagine the crowdedness and the traffic. Anybody that would have went, the traffic was, you noticed it. And we had an amazing driver all week that my reference was if I'd come home from Iowa City and have a close call, I'd describe this to Leanne. That would be amazing. It was nonstop, close calls all the time. Yeah, and of that 1.5 billion, there's 2% Christian. So I did the calculation on that. So that's still 30 million, but in that very much a minority. I think it's probably a good time to. You've seen some of these programs that impressed each one of us. We went with a mission before we went as a team. I'll just read the mission that we went with, and to put it to the end, we feel successful in accomplishing what we went to achieve. So we desire to become better ambassadors in our community about the work God is doing in India under the leadership of Velu. To do this, we believe we must experience firsthand the setting and challenges facing Go Ye Mission in the work of sharing the love of Jesus Christ to men, women, and children who have never met or experienced this love. This trip will authenticate our and Velu's integrity and better understand the work, structure, and management of Go Ye Mission. We want to show love and encouragement to Velu, his family, staff members, and other members in Christ, other believers in Christ. We also want to come away encouraged and humbled by experiencing the trust in Jesus and his love in a culture and environment that is very different than we are accustomed to and know in our community. And we were humbled by what we experienced, seeing this drive to share the gospel. So in that setting, we knew there was a vacation Bible school coming up. So since we returned, that happened in the month of May and June. Yeah, and they had 12 different locations, and they had 1,250 children that came to these programs. And we can, even though we didn't see the vacation Bible school, we seen this after school programs with these enthusiastic kids that we sure have a vivid picture of what it must have been like. The theme for this year's was Jesus the Good Shepherd, inspired by John 10:11. I am the Good Shepherd, and the Good Shepherd gives his life for sheep. And Velu's comment was, so I said, give us a little report on it. And he says, throughout the week, the children enthusiastically took part in a variety of spiritually enriching and fun-filled programs. And as I give that description, any of us that went, that picture of these kids sure comes to mind. The thing with Velu, and Dwayne mentioned this, that he is creative, maybe get shut down with the children's home, but then it's these after-school programs and the vacation Bible school. And I think it's become one of his main outreaches is through all these children, because through these children, parents get in, parents like seeing their children taken care of well. All of these programs, we experience it whether we went to the ordination, the after-school program. Food is always an issue. When I say an issue, it's always there's a meal served. And it's not just a complimentary thing. You sense there's food insecurity. And so there's full meals given every day on these after-school programs. There was meals given at the Vacation Bible School. Mike and Ruth will talk about a youth rally. There was a youth rally, but after the youth rally, and there's food. And it's pretty moving because of the children that are getting fed. You get the sense it might be the one good meal that they have for the day. So that's kind of an update on the Vacation Bible School. Just wanted to express the value. You say how Willis Miller came back and said, believe everything he says. We come back convinced. I mean, we've known him for a long time, 20 years, more intimately, 30 years. But in the past 5 years, since we've been meeting regularly, he's coming and on the video call with us every 6 weeks. We've gotten to know him very well. Actually, fully convinced of his ministry before we went, but it's still, it is further convincing experiencing this. And you probably all know what I mean when you get a picture of how things are, and then when you really experience it. These children with these Vacation Bible School settings kind of verifies, what Josh said as far as these settings. I mean, it's It's outside. I don't know, there's another slide. Yeah, outside. It's always on the floor. I've never seen them with desks or chairs. You just feel the heart of what's going on. Is there one more, or was it those two? Okay. All right. That's what I seen.
By the way, that's a loogie. No, it's lungi. It has an N in it. So you don't spit a loogie, you wear a lungi.
It's usually a house dress for a man, and they don't wear them otherwise. So Mike's kind of breaking the rules. Yeah, but Belu.
Well, Velu showed us what he would wear one, and then he would take it off. And I guess some people don't wear anything underneath, but I'm not a Scotsman. So he would take it off, and like within 2-3 seconds, he would wrap it around his head and make it a headdress, like a turban. And I won't even try. Go ahead, talk about that. This is the youth group.
The youth group was awesome, but we couldn't understand a word they said, but the worship was awesome. And I don't know, it seemed like 3 hours. And they said 68 kids gave their heart to the Lord. So that was cool.
Yeah, one thing that myself and Leon were talking about, and a couple times during the actual worship part of the services, he'd be on the platform in his honorary garb, and he'd be looking out, and you could tell he almost had tears in his eyes. The worship was so intense. It was so deep. And I'd feel the same way. And we look at each other and go, wow, if we had that here constantly in our services, the whole neighborhood would be running, coming and seeing what's happening, because it was intense. So that is how their worship services would go. It was, and again, we did not understand a lot of the songs and everything, but every once in a while there would be a tune in there from Hillsong, and they would sing it in Tamil, which was kind of a kick, because you go, what is it, what is it? Okay, then you finally figure out what it is and sing along, and then they wouldn't understand us. But anyway, that's the youth meeting that we had. The sort of the honorary lays that they put on all of us. That was almost at the beginning of every service. It was great to see Josh and Leon in their robes and getting the honorary. I wish it was one picture up there, but you'll have to look into the newsletters that we have to see how they got dressed. It was great. Floyd, you got to get him to come up here and put a few things on. But anyway, whoops, here, you hold this for a second. See, I don't have a fly. I just... Yeah, but every service we were honored by a shawl, like a mantle of authority.
Beautiful shawl, and made us all stand in front of everybody and put this shawl upon us. So it was beautiful.
You can see, I don't know why they put my picture and Ruth's picture up there. It should have been Josh and Leon.
But that was at the graduation.
That was at the graduation, but
That we wore the.
but at all the other times we were all introduced and had the lay, a certain type of lay put on, and then also those were heavy. The flowered ones that were on there were very heavy. there was a lot of flowers on there. So,
Anyways, and we took so many day trips, so many, that were like, it was like a long ride. But every so often, Velu said, we're going to stop for coffee. I had to show what, this is what we got our coffee in. So if it was with sugar, it was too cold or too hot, you'd pour it into each other. So we had to bring a little thing for souvenir.
so you have to ask Jerry how he did with that when he was in a restaurant. He needed some help with the cleanup crew. Go ahead, speak about the food.
Oh, it was so wonderful when they were done with their school studies and their Bible verses, and what else do they do? Singing.
And some dancing.
The little kids lined up along the walls. They just sat there like these little perfect crisscross applesauce feet, and there was just all of a sudden this lady comes and puts a plate in front of them on the floor. And you're like, okay, what are they going to do? Then another lady, they let Jerry and Josh and Leon help serve. Then they had rice, put a little thing of rice on every plate, and then maybe chicken. And then they started eating with their hands, and we're like, this is what they do. They didn't use silverware. But it was just a very common thing. And when we would go to restaurants, we were told that we sometimes won't eat with silverware. So they had a big banana leaf on the table. And then we're like, okay, where's the silverware? There wasn't any silverware. So they put the food. I watched Jerry and Leanne eating with their hands. But first of all, there was a washroom that we went to wash our hands before we ate. So it was an experience. But after a week, I would order soup so I could have a spoon. That way I didn't stick out.
One of the things on here, the right picture, is we were eating on these banana leaves, and what you do is you pour a little water on it, and then you clean it. And you're supposed to clean it with your right hand, but I'm left-handed. So I started cleaning with my left hand, and Valu goes up and slaps it and says, no, you don't clean it with your left hand. That's what you use for something else. So, it was a little bit of a challenge for me, but, But when you're done with the meal, if you fold the banana leaf away from you, it means you were not satisfied with the meal. Oh, you were happy? I get it back? Oh.
If you fold it that way, you were happy with the meal. If you fold it this way, something wasn't okay. So we made sure we folded it the right way.
So we got to learn some of the customs and different things that were over there, which was fun. And it was fun to see the people in the group attempt to eat with their hands. We all survived. We probably lost a little bit of weight. But it was funny because the first couple of days, you would eat like this. And, of course, they're eating like this, And after a couple of days that we got to learn a little bit more that we could eat the normal way. But at the end of the actual youth group, unfortunately, half of the group had to go home. They had other commitments. And Jerry and Leanne and Ruth and I had the opportunity to spend an extra week. And that was a lot of fun because it was a little bit more vacation-wise. And we got to see a number of things. But the unusual thing was Ruth. She has white hair. And people would come up just randomly and say, can I take a picture with you? Can I? And everything else, she had no idea who these people were.
Get over here.
Yeah, and so I had to be drawn into it. But again, very, very few people had gray hair. And even Velu was saying that most people, when they have a funeral or whatever, they have straight black hair. It doesn't change on them.
Beautiful. The girls are all so beautiful. The little kids are so pretty. I'd go up and say, your dress is so pretty. And 3 more would come running over. So I'd say, can I take your picture? And here there was 5 more. So kids were precious.
So during the second week, we got an opportunity to, in my opinion, see something that was very important for me. One of the things that, like we were saying, we wanted to find out the validity of Velu's ministry and different things. He came over to my house, our house, for dinner when he was here 2 years ago, 3. And I had this immediate feel that I wanted to go to India to see what's going on. I was a big skeptic. And you hear about great ministries and everything else, and you know how, oh, you got to give us money and you got to see this and the other thing, because if I do that, if you don't give it, I'm going to have to give my airplane away. Or I'm going to have to, live a different lifestyle. Velu was not like that. Very, very humble. Very, very giving. The house he lives in has places for other people to live, ministries to come. It's very modest. You don't want to go up and down the stairs because they are very narrow and very steep. It's not really something that we would think would be a very nice home, but they've made it a great, great place. And one night when we were there, after a long trip, all of them were long trips, we went up onto the roof, and you could hear the worship from the neighborhood. And it was one of the songs that we had been hearing in the services. And it just about brought me to tears, that of the things that were going on there that were really, really real and really heartfelt. Because I went in somewhat as a skeptic. And like in the newsletter, I said, I do believe now. Just like St. Thomas, the doubting Thomas. I guess that was me. I know I couldn't have been Thomas. It had to be Mike. But anyway, during that week, we got to see the church that St. Thomas, oddly enough, that's in that area in India. The church was built in 63 AD. It's the oldest existing apostolic church of all the apostles. And it's there. And there's a picture of us in front of it. It's again, very humble, different things. Next slide. As you can see, all the apostles had their journeys and different things. They all didn't go too far, but they did go all around the area. One went up into the England area, and then there was Thomas. Thomas ended up going to India. Now, why he picked India, I don't know, but he spent a lot of years there and different things and established the church. That's the outside of the church there. That is not his grave. He's buried on the other side of India. Like I said, the church was established in 63 AD, and he died about 6 years later. I was actually murdered 6 years later. Someone said by a sword, that they stabbed him with a sword. But I'll have to look into that. There's a cross that he carved into one of the walls of this church. And that was just a real heartfelt thing that I saw. And then there's Jerry coming out of the church. And the reason I put this in here was you can see the height of the door. Now, the door wasn't just for short people. The door was also for protection. Because obviously Christians weren't looked upon very good, and so they were attacked and different things. And so if they were in church and they had an attacker, they had to duck down to get into the building. Well, that put everybody in an advantage who tried to attack them. So that's one of the reasons why the church doors are lower. It's not that Jerry's that much taller. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. But one of the things that I wanted to bring out here about Velu is that he has I won't say a different way of ministering, but a different way of approaching it. He doesn't come out with, this is what you got to believe, or this is how it has to be done. He basically wants to know where that person's coming from. And in our last meeting that we had just this last Wednesday, that he was on the line, he laid out how he ministers. And we had one person bring a question, well, I have a Hindu friend. How in the heck do I bring Jesus to him and minister to him? And he says, well, I got to know more about the person to find out where he's coming from, and then I can minister to him and touch his heart. And he says there's a lot of things that the Hindus do that are, you could say, Bible related. The red dot on the head, we all know that. That is a symbol of them having a blood covering. Where did that come from? We were also there during the time that they were doing the great, I don't know what they even called it, on the Ganges River, where millions of people would come down and wash themselves in the Ganges, which was, if you know anything about the Ganges River, it is dirty. And they'd go in to wash themselves as a cleansing. Again, they have a lot of customs that kind of parallel the Christians. But the problem is they don't know who is the Savior. And that is the key to his ministry, is say that what you're doing hasn't been totally wrong, but you don't know the reason why you're doing it. You don't know the Savior. And he started going, and it for those that were there last Wednesday, wow, it did put a real spark in us of how we minister and how he does things and gets things done. It was such a blessing to hear. And I mean, it was a whole new Velu on the video that he was talking to us on. And that's why I want to encourage all of us, you know, when we go out for something, that we don't just throw tracts at somebody, that we know and touch their heart and where they're coming from. And this particular ministry has touched my heart very much because to see the depth of worship and the depth of the people that he has brought in to the ministry and have taught to go out and do the same. You know, go ye to all nations and teach them about me. And he's teaching very much about Jesus Christ in a very humble way. And it's, to me, was, like I said, I had some doubts, you know, what I was going to see. But I came back completely different. And it's been such a blessing. So I encourage everybody just to keep Velu in prayer and just to do what you can to pray and see the ministry happen, because he has 300 churches that he's ministering to. He does not drive. He has bad eyes, and so he has to have a car or a taxi, a driver or something everywhere he goes, and different things. So this is not an easy ministry, but being that Thomas was down in the same area, there's sort of a atmosphere of this happening. And it's a really blessing thing to see. Again, if you don't get the newsletter, we have little slips back there. If you'd sign up, and we'd make sure you get the newsletter. We have some newsletters down here from the trip that will actually show Josh and Leon in their garb. That's just worth the money right there. So anyway, that's our trip to India, and I'll get Josh back up here to. Sorry about that. What is your name again?
Josh. We have a couple minutes. Are there any questions? I don't know if I can answer the questions you have, but maybe somebody up here can answer them. Any questions that you might have? A little, not a lot. I'm not exactly sure how to say, like, it's not outright persecution, but there is definitely oppression. Like, one of the things, and Dwayne's going to answer the question, but one of the things, like, they are very wary of Western Christianity. And so, like, coming into there, like they would monitor funds coming into India, and if it would be coming straight from our church, there's a chance that gets confiscated. One of the things that I felt, and maybe it was all in my head, I don't know, but when you walk into a hotel, you have to scan your passport, and that gets relayed to the local police station, so everybody, like, you're tracked everywhere you go. And that felt a little weird because, like, I know one night I was talking with Wanda, and I was outside the hotel, and I was talking, and I was like, I don't know, I was kind of talking in riddles, and she's like, well, why don't you just say what you want? And I was like, well, there's like 5 cops within talking distance of me. Why are they there? I don't know. Do they know who I am? Probably. I don't know. So I don't know that there's, like, in that area, it's like outright persecution, but it's definitely an oppression.
Yes, sir. No, you did a good job. But there is persecution up north further that's very severe. There has been in Tamil Nadu. They've actually had some of their pastors beaten. And so we didn't see any of that, but it is always a threat. Like Leon said, they want to know who we are, but you know, when I go to work, they're watching me all the time anyhow. So there was one other thing I wanted to say that's different from this, but back to the children's ministry and relating to the adults. That one evening when we were at Mark Peters, did I get that right? Yeah. So the children were in one room, we were in the rest of the house, and then that entry room was full of ladies, mothers that had brought their children. And I asked Belu, I said, where were the men? He said they were there. They were just, more in the shadows. So to me, that just spoke of the validity of that approach of being able to get to the children or the community.
From what I have looked online, a lot of your persecution is happening up in here, and it's like in this range. And there are, I don't know, I mean, it's a lot of Christians, but there's certain tribal things going on up here. There's like people, family, tribal things coming from China, and in this area, and there's a lot of persecution up here. There was some war stuff going on coming from Pakistan over in here just in the last month, but
There was also those 26 people that were killed at that conference up there in North. Whether it was due to religion or whether it was just a tribal thing, I don't know. But while we were there, that happened in there. But one of the things that we were scheduled to do, we were scheduled to go to a nomad tribe, which was kind of interesting. I was looking forward to that. And the morning that we were supposed to go, we were up in the mountains at a place called Udi, and got word that we were not allowed to go in. It's a government area, and when I was talking to Velu, apparently that there was a Christian group that went in before us a couple days before, and they were handing out tracts, and that's a no-no. And Velu has one of his ministers that are up in that area and everything, and was getting permission for us to go in, which was, I guess, quite a feat to get permission. And the reason that we got permission was that we would be visual witnesses of the Lord and not handing out just tracts or saying this is how you do it. Like I mentioned before, find out what they need and whatever. But the government does control a number of things, including funny things, bottled water. And when you go into these government reserves, they ask if you have any plastic bottled water. So, so we said no because we figured it was empties, and we had full plastic bottled water in the bus or the van that we were in, and Johnny had to sign a piece of paper, I guess, that said that we had nothing, but the government official, like a policeman, came in and searched our stuff and took the bottles of water that we had, just regular bottled water, took it out. And because it's not allowed in these areas, they're trying to clean up all the garbage. India's quite dirty, and garbage is everywhere. And sometimes there's piles of garbage along the side of the street that they're burning. So I can see they want to try to clean it up. So they would take all these bottles, take them out of the van, take them over to a tree, and dump them under a tree, and just a pile of bottles under a tree, not in a trash can or anything else, and then you were free to go.
yeah, we lost all our water that day. We were like, surely they're not going to find all of it, because we had a van and it's like everywhere. They found it all. We had no more water. Any other questions? If not, I think I'm going to have a word of prayer, and then I will dismiss you, and you can stay where you're seated if you want, and we're going to play those music videos, or you can get up and walk around. Try not to talk, turn the volume so loud that you can't hear, but let's pray. Father, we thank you for this evening, and we thank you for the way that you are touching lives in India. And God, I just pray that as your word goes throughout the world, as it spreads throughout the world, God, I just pray that each of us would be good witnesses, and that we would share your love wherever it's at, whether it's here at home or through Go Ye Missions or whatever. And God, I just pray a blessing over Velu and all involved in Go Ye Missions. God, I pray that you would just give them strength, give them courage, and just help them to continue to share your love where they are at. We ask this in your name. Amen.